Most of us have a desire to be recognized as a good person by others. I worry that others may find it uncomfortable to express my thoughts clearly. But is it? Is that really a way to build close relationships with good people and live a successful life? The Psychology of Human Relationships, the book that moves people without getting hurt. Today, based on the contents of this book, I will tell you why you should never live a good life and how to act and live as an alternative. 1. The thought of making others happy makes you sick. Do you usually live your life thinking like this? I have to please my partner. I have to impress everyone I meet. You must not make mistakes or failures. The dream of perfectionism with a strong desire and longing for praise and recognition, and to give a difficult and painful command to myself that I have to do this and that. Preoccupation with these thoughts is largely related to self-esteem. Self-esteem arises from being unbalanced and too strong to be harsh. But if you try to do everything too well, you will miss out on other opportunities to enjoy life. You will only lead an unhappy life by accumulating too much anxiety and worry. So it is necessary to develop a healthy and balanced self-esteem. The key to self-esteem is accepting first. It starts with accepting myself as I am by acknowledging my own strengths and weaknesses, as well as my faults. Then you discover your potential and strive to develop. If you think about it, you will see that it is you who makes me miserable, depressed, and anxious. Others don't think so, but I'm just trying to become the protagonist of a tragedy on my own over some small thing. To get out of here, we need to understand the law. It is a training method to stop, control, and say, get out of this, escape. And whenever you have any excessive thoughts, you stop and try to get out of those thoughts, while thinking that you can control yourself. There is nothing totally good or totally bad in this world. If I don't pass the test, I won't be able to please my family. I'll be a fool and I won't get what I want. I want to pass the test without bothering myself. But if I fail, the opportunity will come again. And if I keep failing, I will find happiness in other ways. It is a way to accept myself as I am by acknowledging not only my strengths and weaknesses, but also my faults. That way, you can be freed from the mistake of defining yourself as a failure at once. I can stop my irrational beliefs from ruining me and leading me down a path of misery. Of course, there is no way the S-law will go well from the beginning. All you have to do is to train over and over again. It's good to start small. For example, if you get caught up in the idea that everyone who always tries to tell you the good things and opposes the day of telling the right things is bad people, you can't help but become angry and nervous all the time. But I can be wrong, and sometimes people think I'm wrong. Everyone wants to be recognized. Therefore, they have the psychology to avoid or overly self-defense because they are afraid of the hurt they will receive when they are not recognized. And when it leads to action, you fall into a vicious cycle of getting more and more miserable and unhappy. There are many types, but in the end, the solution is one. It's about getting away from the idea of being recognized by everyone. You don't have to work so hard to please people. There is no need to be timid and no reason to be sensitive to the reaction of others. It all depends on your mind. Dr. Chang-soon, author of the book I Decided to Live Rough, says healthy roughness is the power to let go of the fear of being rejected and hurt in a relationship. To do this, you first need an attitude to accept yourself as you are. 2. If you don't know how to say no, your life will be hard. One of the most difficult things people face is the problem of rejection. It's rarely easy to ask someone for something. Most people manage to act after dozens of simulations in their head. However, if you make a request with such difficulty and get rejected, the embarrassment and shame at that moment cannot be expressed in words. So, people are hesitant as they procrastinate more and more without taking action, for fear that they will encounter such a moment. We are all familiar with this situation. I fully understand how difficult it is to make a decision when the other person has asked for it. It makes us feel very embarrassed to be in a situation where we have to turn down someone's request. As a result, I am afraid that the person who has been hurt by rejection will dislike me. So I have no choice but to continue to ask for it. And even though I know that the request is too much for me to do, it becomes aesthetically pleasing and delays the reply. It's not very often that the other person's bad words about me directly reach my ears just because I didn't do it. But being angry with myself and doing things I disapprove of is the reality unfolding before my eyes. In fact, the other party accepts the reality as it is, even if it hurts right away if I reject their request. I don't have any special feelings. It's the same for everyone, even if the situation changes. Therefore, the fear of rejection must be put to an end. It is best to convey my opinion concisely and clearly. Even if I say no, the other party accepts it as, and it is sometimes difficult to enter, so do not delay the answer. I'm sorry, I can grant that request. Speak clearly is the lowest. This clarity applies not only to refusal but also to swearing at the other person. Contrary to what you think, in most cases, the other person does not understand. You must practice regularly to communicate to the other person softly but firmly, concisely, and clearly. Living by other people's standards is meaningless. Whether you say no or hate it, the important thing is to meet your standards. People don't really have much to do with other people's lives. Unnecessary advice or interference should be avoided. The author says that the way to be kind to others is to only cause more repulsion and help only more repulsion. We say that there are limits to energy in a life crisis and it's important to set priorities. If you really want help, I recommend taking just half a step more and using your energy efficiently while deciding whether or not you can change if I do this request. Today, I explained 2 reasons why you shouldn't just be kind and the alternatives. But something really important remains. As I said earlier, we said before that we don't have to try to please others and we should be able to turn down a request if it doesn't meet our standards. Being such a picky person is a way to free yourself from anxiety and worry and live a comfortable and healthy life without putting yourself too hard. However, this should not confuse rudeness with unreasonableness. Just because you don't care about other people doesn't mean you can ignore them or insult them. Then another problem arises in the relationship. Conversely, a person with unhealthy roughness likes to criticize for small mistakes or to point out mistakes all the time. But few would lack that kind of behavior. That is why inflexible people often have conflicts in relationships. If you're struggling with such a problem, you need to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Since everyone is a selfish and self-centered being, there must always be a process of looking back and accepting whether or not he was the victim. Author Chang-soon's book tells us about various clinical cases and interesting psychological theories, as if telling a story that I decided to leave harshly. This book makes us look back on the situations and problems we are in. It is telling us we're always timid and worried how to act concretely to live a cool and harsh life. Through this, we will develop the courage to accept ourselves as we are, make use of our strengths and make up for our weaknesses, and gain the strength to express ourselves confidently for ourselves and for others. I hope that you will also keep today's content in mind and become a person with a balanced self-esteem and healthy roughness. If you are tired of people, if painful thoughts pass you by, just let them pass. There are days like this and there are days like that. Stop thinking you have to be perfect. Living and human relationships are like the weather, so there are sunny days and cloudy days. There are days when it drizzles and there are days when it rains and rains. I hope that you will become free and gentle people who treat people and maintain relationships with a little comfort and light heart, as if preparing to dress up for the ever-changing weather. It was a bookmark. I wish you success and happiness.